Sims, let's go.
Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're watching the GSL Talk Show. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with Miss Stacey Chillemi, so stay tuned.
It's a miracle, baby. Shot chill. Miracle Sims, let's go. Yeah. It's a miracle, baby. Shot chill. Miracle Sims.
But I'm not the type of girl that goes.
Yeah. It's a miracle, baby. Shot
You wishing I would have a one night affair.
Welcome back to the GSL Talk Show. I am here with Miss Stacey Chillemi. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to have you here. Welcome to the GSL Talk Show.
Well, I'm very glad to be here. I'm honored to be in your presence.
Oh. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Stacey.
So I'm a speaker, a coach, an author, and a podcaster. I have a podcast right now. It's called The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi. It's all about self-improvement. We have about 1.3 million listeners, and we cover about mental health, physical health, spiritual, and we talk about business also, because that affects, if you can't focus at home, you're not going to do well in your job. So it all is connected, and we have people from all walks of life that come on and share their stories and share their tips, tools, and strategies.
Man, that is so true what you said. Everything is connected in that way. Tell me where you're from.
I'm from New Jersey. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I like to see where people are from and everything. You never know, man. I'm sure you know in the podcasting world, we've been able to kind of reach people in different areas and things of that nature. So really
Oh,
cool.
yeah. Yeah.
I've been to Jersey a couple times. It's nice.
Busy.
Yeah. And then everybody talks about the city, of course, New York and everything like that. Are you into the whole rivalry between the two, or you love both?
No,
Or
actually, I live about very close to the New York City, so we go down there a lot. It's fun. There's a lot to do. Great restaurants. So we go down there a lot.
okay. And so born and raised then.
Yeah, I was born and raised in New York. Came to Jersey, and now I'm here with my family.
Oh, awesome. So what got you into this podcasting space and all the amazing things that you do?
Well, it really goes back all the way into my childhood years. When I was 5, I had like an ear infection and I had a virus. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor gave my mother some medicine. We went home. I was in bed rest for about 10 days or so. My mother all of a sudden heard a gurgling sound from the other room. She came in and she saw me turning blue in a grand mal seizure. And she called the ambulance and they rushed me to the hospital. And it turned out that the actual virus had turned into encephalitis and had traveled to my brain. I was induced into a coma for 4 days, and they told my parents most likely if she comes out, she'll be paraplegic or she'll probably have brain damage. My parents were devastated. My father, who comes from a small Greek island in Greece, one church, one doctor, one everything. So he was thinking about the statue in front of the church, and it was known to have teardrops roll from his eyes. So he was visualizing that, and he was by my bedside praying. He said when he looked up on the 4th day, teardrops rolled from my eyes. And I woke up, and the first thing I asked for was McDonald's French fries. So
It's like, she's better. She's okay now.
Yeah, so I wasn't paraplegic and I didn't have brain damage, but I was diagnosed with epilepsy. To this day, they can't find the scar tissue that causes the seizures, but it was a roller coaster ride growing up, and when I got into college, it became even more challenging, the late night studying, trying to get the good grades, all that stress, caused more seizures. And it got to a point where I didn't even know if I was going to be able to graduate college. And that was one of the things on my bucket list that I wanted to do for myself. So I decided to write a letter. Back then, they had a magazine from the Epilepsy Foundation, and I wrote a letter and I asked them to publish it. And I asked people, how do you cope with epilepsy? And to my surprise, I got about 300 to 400 letters written to my home. people shared their stories, they shared their inspirations, they shared their ideas and their tips. And I was really inspired. And I used a lot of those things that I learned and created my own regimen. And it also taught me that I wasn't alone, because for so many years I felt alone. And that made me realize that I'm not alone. So I created that regiment, and I said, one day I'm going to write a book. And I put that aside, and I graduated college and I started working in the corporate world. I was doing really well, had the dream job, in the city, and everything was going great. And then one day I was walking in the hallway and I felt an aura, which is a signal really saying that you're going to have a seizure. And I was looking around to see if I could go somewhere to hide, where nobody would see me have it. And there was no place to go and to hide. So I ended up falling on the floor. I was conscious during the seizure, but I couldn't move. And one of the executives just stepped over me and kept walking. And I couldn't believe that they just walked over me and they didn't even bother to help. And I was flabbergasted by that. And then, shortly after I was released from my position, they said, "Oh, sorry, you don't make the qualifications." But I knew that it wasn't because I didn't make the qualification. It was because I had the seizure and they just wanted me out. And so I walked out of there with my head up high and I said, one day I'm going to be a success. And I didn't know where I was headed, but I knew that I wanted to be a success. I wanted to do good. And that was my goal. And so I started to do freelance and I opened up my own little business. I met lots of people. I did lots of work for people that were just starting out, like Grammarly, and writing for them and doing presentations, and, big companies that are, making, multi-million dollars now. And back then they were just starting out. And then one day I met an herbalist, and, he said that, I could really need some help with writing and research. And I said, "Oh, sure, I could do that." And as I was reading and learning about holistic living and healing the body naturally, I said, wow, a lot of these things could apply to myself. So I started applying it to myself, and my seizures went from 12 to 9 to 8, 7, 6, 5, to the point where they became controlled. And I was really intrigued by this. And I said, wow, if this could help me, this could help millions of people, not just people with epilepsy, but everybody. So I started to create a little blog. Back then they had a blog on Blogger, nothing major. And 400 people went right to it. And I was like, wow, so then I created a website, and then I started working for a website designer. And he was like, well, I was writing the content. He was designing the websites. He goes, I could make a really nice website for you. And he did. And it went from 400 to 10,000 to 100,000 and to 200,000, and kept growing. And, and then suddenly, everything took off. After 5 or 6 years of researching for holistic living, I created the book, The Complete Herbal Guide. I finished that book because I kept working on it. My husband said, would you finish that damn book already? And I called it Epilepsy, You're Not Alone. And one day I got an email in my email box, and someone said, I was on the verge of suicide. I found your book in Barnes and Nobles. And I just want to say thank you because you saved my life. And it was then that I realized what my purpose in life was. And it was then that I realized how powerful the words of wisdom can really be. And I took that and I went with it. And I ended up going on TV shows, doing talk shows, doing radio shows, and creating books and content and speaking. And I just kept going and going and going. And my purpose was to help others, and show them that there is a way that we could rise above the chaos, overcome our obstacles, and be able to make our dreams a reality. And that was my purpose. And then, one day I just, not too long ago, I had a friend who, was big in podcasting, and he kept urging me to do a podcast. And I decided to finally listen to him. And within 3 months, we booked for a year. And then it kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And I've written about 20 books. That book, Epilepsy, You're Not Alone, I republished that in 22 in COVID. During lockdown, I had to keep myself busy. So I ended up writing a book called Empower Yourself, Don't Let Your Conditions Empower You. I created a journal to go with it called the Positivity and Gratitude Journal. And then I rewrote the book, The Epilepsy, You're Not Alone, because so many things had changed over those 2 decades. or 3 decades maybe, and I was like, so I rewrote that and it became a bestseller right away. And it's still a bestseller on the bestsellers list. So, that's how it all began. And that's where it got me today.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Such an amazing testimony. I was sitting here thinking like there's so many things that kind of just stands out about what you shared. But first of all, man, like shout out to God and shout out to you for persevering and not letting any of the things hold you back and everything like that. And look, shout out to Dad for his prayers, man. That's amazing. That's awesome, man. I only have a couple of experiences when it comes to like seizures and whatnot. And neither one was my personal situation by the grace of God, but one was that right after college I started working at Disney and I was on the college program, and so we had to live in a house with, it was like kind of like dormitory life, except it was like two girls per room, and but it's like 6 of us or whatever the case would be. And so we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
seeing each other and stuff. And one of my roommates at the time was letting me know, or letting us all know that she deals with having seizures, and her main thing was like, just make sure my head isn't going to hit anything, that type of thing. But other than that, just kind of leave me or whatever the case may be. But and it only happened once, but at least we would kind of prepare for that. Now, one I was not prepared for was when I had my son. I want to say maybe like it had been like a year or so, but out of all the things they tell you at the doctor and all the things they warn you about, the choking, all the stuff, right? They did not
yeah,
warn me about feeble seizures. So when it happened, I was like, what is happening? You know what I mean? And it was right when COVID had started too. So I'm like,
yeah,
what? I don't know what to think at that point, and I just see my baby shaking and I'm like, what's happening? And stuff, and freaking out and going to the hospital and getting in the ambulance and all that type of stuff. And so but either one of those situations, I cannot see like just leaving you there. Like that is crazy to me. Like when you shared that part, like shame on those individuals. I mean, I get, again, my roommate did say, hey, you don't have, unless you see my head about to touch something, don't, but still like some type of help, just walk over. I just don't, that's
yeah,
crazy. That's but obviously it pushed you into your purpose. Sometimes God allows things to happen for us to just to move on, because so I guess we can look at it in that way and see the positive light of the situation. But the
yeah.
negative is that shame on those individuals that just walked on by. Like that's crazy. So, and I apologize, I'm sorry you had to experience that. That's I mean, I mean, not to be like, how did it feel to experience that? But I don't know, like, do you have any thoughts about those times or that particular time? Like,
Oh
how do you
yeah,
feel about it?
for the longest time in my head, I was, I life was really grand back then. Everything was happening. Everything that a young girl, could dream of was kind of going my way,
Mhm,
and to see all of it change in just a couple of seconds
mhm,
was just traumatic. And then
mhm,
I would go back sometimes and I would think about, oh, I could have, been here in life, or, I was headed towards here and I could have been this, or I could have done that. And what happens if I didn't have that seizure? I could have been, at a different point in my life and doing this and this and this, and, and thinking about the what ifs. And I came to the conclusion that you don't really think about the what ifs. We don't, that's the past is the past. We can't change the past. Everything
mhm,
happens for a reason. I believe everything happens for a reason. And that was not my journey. That was not
mhm,
what the universe wanted me to do. That was not what God wanted me to do. That
mhm,
was, it was a learning experience that drove me to go to the direction that God wanted me to go.
mhm,
And that's the direction I followed. And that's what brought me here now. And if I didn't go through things I went through in life, I would see life in a different pair of eyes where,
mhm,
there was a different crowd of people around me at that time. And it was more, money oriented, materialistic, and as you can see, a lot of heartless people. And so
mhm,
I really, I see things when I look at people, I look at the inside of them, I look at their heart. I think with empathy. I don't, and I don't know if I would be at that point in my life if I went in that direction, because we are
mhm,
influenced by our environment. So
mhm,
I feel that by going in the direction I have met so many wonderful people, and I have been able to help so many people. And I really feel feel that this is a gift that God has given me, and I'm following that journey.
Yes, I mean, like I said, right place at the right time, man. We gotta sometimes gotta focus on again the good part of the situation. I know it can again. It made me it reminded me of your situation, and us talking about this right now. There was a situation that I was in. I was doing like in-store infomercials, and I was kind of selling this chef envy. I was showing people how great it was, and at some point, I'm using it to chop some what was this, some cabbage or something like that, and it chops my fingernail off. Clearly I didn't steal no chef envies that day. But here's the crazy thing. So so it happened. The people that was watching me, my clients or whatever the case may be, customers, they're watching, and they were like on the phone calling my upper head people, and their question wasn't like, oh, you're going to the hospital, or you're you okay? They were like, so how many chef envies did you and the customers heard it and they were like, what? It was like, this lady needs to go to the hospital and da, 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 da. And I was just like, and after that happened, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be part of y'all's company no more. I'm good on
Yeah.
y'all's company. Y'all
Mhm.
don't care about people. Like, this is crazy. So corporate world, there's some things that can change about it, when not to say just better people, but people, I guess, if good people get in places, then those atmospheres and places can change. But until then, I mean, it's better to, like you said, surround yourself with,
Yeah.
um, people that care and things of that nature. And it gets tough. Don't get I get either one of us wrong. Like, it's tough to, again, I would say, like, walk by faith or trust God that I can be an entrepreneur, I can write books, I can, do these things, use my God-given gifts and talents, right?
Right.
It's a tough place to be sometimes, because then you're like, how is things gonna happen? I, but I don't know if I'm just getting this, but from you, I feel like I'm getting contentment, right? I'm getting, you're at peace with where you are today, and I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong, you could not be, but that's what I'm receiving from you right now. And so,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing that change, like, how can I say, like, it's the difference between, like, going and, I guess, the rat race, or like, or chasing this unseen, that what I used to do was, like, really feel like I was just chasing this unseen goal, and it's like I would reach one thing and it still wouldn't be fulfilled, right? But years later, when I started to focus on, like, what I feel like God wanted me to do, now I'm like doing things like this, and the most content I've ever been in life, you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Do you have any encouragement for people that are like, at that crossroad moment, like maybe they're in a place where they need to restart? I literally was going to talk about that this morning for my daily inspiration. I haven't done it yet, but anyway, um, but I feel like this thing about restarting. I feel like you might have some words of wisdom for people. Is that true?
Yeah, it's never too late to restart and reset yourself. People, you could be at any age in your life. It's never too late. And sometimes people think as they get older, oh, I'm too old, to change or to do things differently, but you're not. Change can come at any period of your life. You have to be able to
Mhm.
look in the mirror and be happy with who you see. And if you
Mhm.
can't do that and you're not feeling peace with yourself, or you feel in deep in your heart, because the heart really, I believe the heart is where we get our messages from, not the brain. And we have
Yeah.
to listen to our heart.
Mhm.
And change is a great thing. And,
Mhm.
I try to implement changes into my life every single day. I learn, I keep my mind open and I learn every day. And it's always good to consistently improve ourselves and to work on change, because we can always better ourselves and make ourselves better. But change is something that that everyone should be open to, and it's important, because when you think about change, you think about being happy, learning to accept yourself, love yourself, being able to feel good about yourself, being able to come to terms with who you are as a person and where you're going in life, and think about where you are now in the present, and live in the presence, and think about where you want to be in the future, and make that your goal and work towards that goal. And those goals may change as you go along, because you never know what journey you may be on. But for now, live in the present, live in the now, make the best of what you have now, have gratitude, have love, and set goals. Set goals of where you want to be in the next 6 months, where you want to be a year from now. And it's never too late. You know, who do you want to be? Where does Miracle want to be in the next year? You know, where does she want to see herself in the next 6 months? You know, and then make those goals, make those changes. And then, you know, even make a list of your strengths and your weaknesses, and focus on improving and tweaking those weaknesses, and focus on those strengths, and just keep setting goals and keep using those goals as a stairway to a prosperous life. And you will get to the point in life where you feel good, because that's what you want to. You want to be happy. You want to live a happy, healthy, productive life. And that should be your main goal. And don't let the world around you change your way of thinking. Don't let them inspire you. You inspire yourself.
Mm, mm. Man, okay, so you were telling us about you have 20 books, but I think congrats on that. I mean, look, I'm at a
Yeah.
27 myself, you know what I'm saying? I gotta come for it. I gotta, you know, gotta catch up. But I mean, you know, that's awesome though. 20 books is amazing. And so, I mean, do you want to tell, I know you told us about some of them, but you know, you want to tell us about all or most, you know, so are all of them kind of centered around um this journey you've been on and things of that nature, or are they kind of different genres?
They're all they're, you know, I've written books about being kind. I've written, you know, books for like children and parents to work together and to read together to learn about kindness, because we lack kindness in this society. You know, everybody needs to be kind to one another. Everybody needs to you know, learn to realize that we all have a life, and we all have our own opinions, and we all have our own way of living, but we should not inflict our opinions and our life on others, and accept others. Don't labelize them, don't stigmatize, and be happy with who you are. It's very easy to place judgment on others, but focus on yourself and focus on your own flaws. We're not here to judge others. We're here to work on ourselves and to better ourselves. And I've written books on positivity, because positivity is key. My newest book, Empower Yourself, Don't Let Your Conditions Empower You, is everything, going from stress to anxiety to diabetes, whatever is in your life right now, any condition, anything that's going on with your life, I talk about how to overcome it. Like I was telling you, to rise above the chaos, to be able to, you know, to overcome those obstacles in life, and to be able to make your dreams a reality, because we all have that power within us. It's letting it go, not being that, letting that insecurity and that self-doubt, and you know, and realize that you're worthy. And those are what my books are about. And my books are about gratitude. They're about being able to get those repressed emotions out and to move forward. It's all about moving forward in life. We don't want to move backwards, we want to move forward. And those are what my books are based on. And I did a lot of holistic, you know, health, you know, books, and I talked about how to heal the body naturally. I believe in integrative medicine. If we can, you know, we can try to heal our bodies naturally, we can do the best we can. But if the issues still persist, then I believe in going to the doctor, consulting your doctor, working with your doctor. You know, you know, we're not doctors, but there are ways that we can help heal the body, that we don't have to resort to medications, because a lot of times people run to the doctor for the littlest things, and they get this medication gives them side effects. Oh, I feel this way. And then all of a sudden the doctor gives another prescription. Before you know it, you have a pantry of prescriptions. So it's good to try to heal things naturally. If you can't heal it naturally, then you go to your doctor, because obviously your body is not able to heal it on its own. But, you know, that's one part of some of my books that I've written. And the three main books that I'm focusing right now are the books that I told you about, and the Complete Herbal Guide, which is an encyclopedia about all different herbs. It's about all different types of supplements, holistic living, and just ways to understand what they are, what they do, how they help you, And, and basically, right now I'm focusing on, just like I told you, getting out of the denial, learn to accept yourself, learn to love yourself, learn to build your self-esteem and confidence, learn how to journal to get those repressed emotions out, learning how to move forward in life, learning how to be happy, and learning to really live the life of your dreams. And, and that's what my main focus is on. And that's why I created the podcast, to help others so they can have that happy, healthy, and productive life, so they can move on, so they can reach their goals and make their dreams a reality, because we all have that capability. We just have to be able to believe in ourselves.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, I know I've been I guess I don't know if I would say coaching people along the way or whatever the case may be, or trying to just be of assistance to people and stuff. And it does seem like we are in this I guess world where people don't see their own value, right? They don't see and then when you don't see the value in yourself, then you don't see the value in others, and it just goes on. Like you said earlier, everything is kind of connected in that
Yeah.
way. And so I know myself, I've been trying to, work on myself and better myself. I've been even, taking therapy lately and things of that nature to, just make sure, you know what I mean? Like break whatever stigmas around it, maybe, by my son being able to know that, hey, mommy did this. If he ever needs to go one day, then maybe he will go, that type of thing.
Right.
Because I think you said earlier, people get this idea like, oh, I don't need to grow, or I don't need help, or I don't need this, or don't need that, and then they stay
Yeah.
stuck where they are. And then,
Yeah.
like you said, people let all these things affect what they could do, or what God wants them to do. For example, like people again using the excuses, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, and I just it's so discouraging sometimes, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I know I can't do it for people, right? I can't. I'm not Jesus at the end of the day. Like, they got to do it for themselves. Like, like the old adage is, you can't, make people drink the water, whatever the case may be. So, but it's tough, man. It's tough. So I'm wondering, like, do you work with people, coaching and whatnot? You do that.
Yes, I
And
do.
so how is that going?
Going really well. I do life coaching. I help people with podcast coaching, because when I did podcasts, I created a program because people kept wanting to come back on the podcast, where we do a podcast series, and we create, promote, and we produce the podcast for them. And then I decided to coach people, because a lot of people either, they're overwhelmed, they don't know how to start a podcast, or they're plateaued and they want to grow, or they just don't have the time. So we help them in that respect. And I coach them and I teach them how to grow. And then for people on one-on-one coaching, I teach people how to grow within themselves, how to better themselves as a person, how to feel good about yourself, how to get, to figure out, okay, we create a personalized program. What are your goals? What are your challenges that you're dealing with right now? What's blocking you from preventing those challenges? What can we do to help you move forward? And we create that trajectory and we create that plan. And I teach them step by step different tools and techniques and ways. And we talk and we get those emotions out, and we work through the problems and the obstacles, and we get that person to the point where they are happy with themselves. So I do life coaching, and I do accountability coaching, and I do podcast coaching.
Awesome. So tell me about your favorite client. I know you probably don't want to like details, names, and all that type of stuff, but like your favorite person that you've worked with thus far.
I think one of my favorite people that I've worked with was, I have this one client, and she was just a ball of joy. And not only was she a client that we and it's important when you're coaching, you have to think on the same level and understand each other. And we did, and it was so much fun to coach her. And she really implemented a lot of the stuff that I talked about. And and it was fun because when we would Zoom call each other, she had a lot of cats, and and then she used to save cats, and then and find homes for them and stuff like that. And one day she was talking to me, and she had a cat behind her, and it looked like she had a tail, and I was laughing and she was laughing, and so it was coaching. We were accomplishing things, and it was fun at the same time. So, and she's growing and growing and growing, and she's amazing. And she's a coach herself. All coaches need coaches. Everybody should have a coach. And you know, she's an amazing coach for what she does, you know, and we just, you know, we had a great time, and we helped each other, and you know, and it's great to be able to help a person, and it's great to be able to bring a person to the next level and help them grow.
It is. It is. Like I said, I've tried. Lord knows I've tried this over, and sometimes I feel like not to be. Well, it's great that you were talking about your client and how she received the information and implemented it, right? And I think it's the implement part that I'm kind of struggling with when it comes to some people. And on one hand, it's like, again, I can't take control over that, and I've been trying to separate my feelings from that. Um, but I mean, I don't know. Have you ever encountered things of that nature where you're like, I can only do what I can, like, at this point, it's up to you, that type of thing. I don't know, any advice for people that are kind of just in that place where they know something is deep in their heart, they want to do it, but then they just don't know how to, or they
Yes.
don't, or something is holding them back from implementing it.
You know, you know, talk to them from all different angles, but the key is that they have to want to help themselves. They truly deep inside have to want to help themselves. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And you know, no matter how good your intentions are, and even though you know that by implementing certain types of ways into their, you know, lifestyle, that they can change their life around and have an amazing life, and they can go from one extremity to the next. You can't force them to do it. You can only provide the information if they want it. And sometimes, you know, they say they want it, but they really don't, you know, and they listen with closed ears, one out, you know, going one ear out the other. And if they're not implementing it, then they're not helping themselves. And at some point you have to separate yourself, and you have to really let them know that, you know, we've covered all angles. I've given you all the material. I see that you're not implementing the material and you're not using it correctly. And, you know, and since you're not, you know, really into the program, you know, unfortunately, I don't think that we're a fit. And I don't think, you know, until you're ready to make that change and that commitment, you know, I can't help you move any further. So, and that's how you have to kind of let it, you know, and arise. And even though you may care about this person, you know, because you know they're a wonderful person, you can't let your emotions, you know, override you. It's not you, it's them. And they have to get to the point where they want to change. They have to, you can teach them how to make themselves feel worthy of themselves. You can teach them how to build their self-esteem. You can teach them how to move forward. You can give them different strategies and tools, but unless they're willing to work, because it's work, then change is not going to come. And that's not your fault. It's their fault, and they have to get, you know, it may be a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, but you know, you can only help a person to a specific point. You can't force them to do it.
That's so true. What has brought me peace is to understand that, you know what, it's not up to me to, I guess, make the situation grow or flourish or things like that. Maybe I'm just the person laying down seed, or maybe I'm watering the previously laid seed, things of that nature. That kind of has helped me to just kind of find more peace with those things. But it's been difficult in some ways, because you just want it so bad for people, right? Especially when you like hearing how much they want it on one end and things of that nature. So, I
Yeah.
mean, needing coaching is so true. And, hey, man, but I think that's one of the things about, I believe what God has put in place about like relationships with one another, as well as with him. It's like he's put this thing that makes you need him. And then also having this thing of now making us interact with others. I know a lot of us kind of think like, oh, we don't need anybody. I don't need anybody. I could be an island by myself, that type of thing. But I mean, I guess the more I grow and stuff like that, I'm seeing that that's not necessarily true. And I hope that, more people will understand that one day, and then we can all, I guess, hopefully, not just coexist, but I don't know, I guess appreciate each other, and our differences and things of that nature. But I guess until that day, I mean, we'll always have amazing people like Miss Stacey and, and whoever else to hopefully encourage us and inspire us. And I hope those that are listening and watching have been encouraged and inspired, not only to change, but to, go with the changes that's happening in your life, and go for your purpose and things of that nature. Because it sounds like you're doing an amazing job with that. So, I mean, is there anything else you would like to share with us before you go?
Well, you know what? When you talked about that, the first thing that came to my mind is a lot of people want, they don't want to inconvenience others, and they want also have a feeling of independence. And, they hate asking others for help because probably in their lifetime, in their younger days, they didn't ask for help, and then, or they were taught not to ask for help. And you have to let your ego down, and you have to be humble enough to be able, when you need help, to reach out. And reaching out and getting support from others is one of the best things you can do. There are so many people out there that want to help, that want to make things better for others, and you just have to let go of that ego. And when you really realize you do need help, and you do know, your inner instincts will tell you, go with it. Just let go of that ego. And you need help. You have to go get it, because that's the only way you'll grow. And I just wanted to mention that, my book, Epilepsy, You're Not Alone, I'm coming out with a 2024 version of that, and that should be out this year. And so people that have epilepsy or know somebody have epilepsy, there will be a 2024 version, the 4th edition of the book.
Awesome. Listen, look, it's going to be well over 20 books real soon. I already see that. So you are welcome to come back anytime and share with us whatever else you come out with. And I really do appreciate you coming today. Thank you so much, Ms. Stacey.
Oh, you're welcome. And if people want to reach out for me, they can go on staceychillemi.com, and I have all my materials there. They can find me. It will, I have freebies, I have giveaways, I have free downloads, I have different things that could help people in all areas that we talked about today. So if they go to staceychillemi.com, they'll find all my stuff, and they can contact me. And I'm on all the social media. You just type my name, you'll find me everywhere. So, reach out. I love to talk to people.
Awesome. Thank you so much for visiting us.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Wishing I would have a one night affair.
Thank you so much for watching the GSL Talk Show, and thank you to Miss Stacey for joining us tonight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check out her many books and the rest of her endeavors. Have a good night.